I'm Jay,
I'm Lucy,
and we're here to talk about movies.
as usual.
And what movie are we discussing today, Lucy?
Bottoms.
Okay, and why did you want to pick this movie?
Well, I think it's sort of a masterpiece. But he said things that make me think he doesn't agree with me.
I think I enjoyed it ultimately. I'll admit I really don't remember any of the characters' names, which I mean I should, but
PJ and Josie and Hazel and all of them.
yeah, I think what caught me off guard was I was expecting it to be a little more straightforward, like I understood it was going to be a comedy.
Oh.
But it was a very heightened reality. And some points it seemed almost like an Airplane or a Naked Gun kind of movie, like really spoofing the high school experience. And then other times it just seemed like super heightened, like Wayne's World or I feel like there's something else I was thinking of when I watched it, but I'm blanking on that title now. And I mean, I'll admit I enjoyed it. I thought there was plenty of things about it that really were fun and everything, you know, like the football team is treated as gods and they never take off their jerseys ever. And then, like, the main characters are of course gay, and like the whole movie's about they're trying to get the attention of these other girls that they're very much interested in. And at the beginning of the movie they go to this school carnival, I guess it's like the beginning of the year kickoff. And then they're like talking, like early on they're talking about like, do you think people don't like us because we're gay? And they're like, I don't think it could be that. And then they show this other character who's another gay student, but he's like in a theater program, and apparently he's responsible for being one of the greatest theater programs for high school ever or something. And so people are like, hey man, it's so good to see you. So there's that sense of like, no, nobody in the school really has a problem with LGBTQ. They just think these particular girls are like losers or dunces or whatever you want to call them, and so they're super nasty to them. In fact, the first day they go back to school, on the lockers they have the naughty F word written, and then it's like number 1, number 2, and then they're arguing like, okay, seriously, I'm supposed to be number 1, like that's not fair. Like, and I appreciate the joke, and then, but I guess for me, there were some parts of it where I'm like, you're being a little flippant or cavalier, kind of almost jokey about some topics that are like, are we allowed to be this way about this? Because in the gym scene, there's like they have a first gym scene where they're like kind of beating on each other a little bit. Then they have this gym scene where they're sitting in a circle, and literally the one character brings up, so who here has ever been raped? And it just felt like, okay, we're going intense, aren't we? Because I kind of feel like if it was a bunch of guys having this discussion, the movie would have been like, how dare you, how dare you. Even, you know, they talk about, it ends with us right now where they have very intense issues in the movie that they feel Blake Lively hasn't addressed, and I don't want to get into that again. I think we've discussed that on some other episodes, but it just felt like, wow, I mean, I understand you're trying to be funny in this movie, but it just seems like a topic where it's like, you have to be very careful how you're going to approach that with humor. Because then the one girl's talking about, yeah, I've been assaulted a few times, but nobody wants to ask me about my jewelry business. Like, okay. And then I think opening announcements in the first day, it's like, yeah, one of the girls here had the shit beat out of her by the other school, and I understand that it's meant to be a joke, that there's this intense rivalry and everything, but it still sort of comes across as like a little like flippant or cavalier with the idea of like, oh yeah, they beat her up or assaulted her in some way, and it's like, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I just starts to question like, if others had tried to do these same jokes, would they get away with it, or would it be like, well, you're canceled now because how dare you say such things, or how dare you try to make that stuff humorous? So, as I say, like, I don't think it's a bad movie overall. I do think there were elements of it where I'm like, is it really that okay to be so humorous or like flippant, cavalier with such intense topics.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. That's probably, yeah, that's a good point. Honestly, what that kind of reminds me of is when I play Cards Against Humanity, and they have all these like horrible, horrible answers, and it depends who your audience is. Either they're gonna laugh about it, or they're gonna be kind of just like, whoa, like, you know, these are some big topics. Maybe they've been affected by certain things and weren't expecting such jokes to be made about it. So I definitely think, yeah, it deserves its R rating. Like it
Oh yes.
discusses a lot of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I've never really thought about it that way, but yeah, thinking back on it, there are some very, very crazy things being said in that movie.
Yeah, and I think like, or then it's funny. I mean, I don't think this is offensive. I think it's just kind of a really unique element to it. Is I think it's the quarterback on the football team, and like they have pictures of him with his shirt off, and like, yeah, he's our god or whatever, and just like, okay, yeah, football team can do wrong or no wrong, or they even talk about late in the movie where like, we did this thing, and they're gonna go tell the principal, and you know, of course he's gonna believe him, and you know, of course the principal's this guy who's like, our football team is the only people that matter in this school, and either support them or you can just go F off. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And again, like a lot of that didn't bother me because I appreciate that they're trying to poke fun at like the culture of what high school tends to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are definitely elements in there where it was like, okay, like, and I mean too, like now with this summer we're seeing like It Ends With Us has been a big hit, so there's been complaints that there weren't any warnings about, oh yeah, the movie deals heavily with domestic violence. And then there's a movie called Blink Twice directed by Zoe Kravitz, her first movie she's directed, and I guess there's a lot of like apparently sexual violence or weird uncomfortable moments in that movie, and apparently there's been efforts made to let people know before you go to this movie this kind of stuff happens in it, so if that might be triggering for you, probably stay away, or just you might have to leave the theater for a bit if you can't deal with it. And like maybe some of that happened with Bottoms, I'm not really sure, but I do think that's one that could have benefited more from maybe some, like at the beginning, like, just so you know, we're gonna get a little cavalier about a topic that's very intense for some people, and you should know that going into this, because it, you know, and I'm curious, like, were there people upset by it, or was it like, nah, I mean, with this one we can let it slide kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because I know too, like, you know, 40-Year-Old Virgin, there's that, you know how I know you're gay scene, and I mean, I don't know how many people found that offensive at the time or by now, but I've not really heard too many comments made where like people thought, how dare they make these jokes, but maybe also they recognized as they don't really have an issue with homosexuality, they're just giving each other grief and using the word gay as a way to give each other grief, and I mean, not to say it's okay, but I think maybe it's understood that it's meant to just be relaxed and fun, but I don't know what anybody's views on it really are, especially in the LGBTQ community. I haven't really heard too much. But anything else you want to kind of bring up?
Yeah, that's actually makes me think of something else where when I first saw the movie, I was like, oh yeah, it's like a comedy. But it was way, way more gory than I ever thought it would be. Like, they did not, I feel like that was not mentioned at all. And I'm usually fine with blood, so, you know, luckily I was okay. But, you know, when I told people, oh yeah, just so you know, like, the movie's really, really bloody, they were like, what? It is? Like, I never would have guessed that. So that's another thing where, yeah, maybe some more in-your-face warnings probably would have been good.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think even the violence was dealt with in a little bit of campy way, like closer to Deadpool sensibility, where it's like over the top a little bit. Which, I mean, the whole movie was over the top, and maybe the sentiment was, because I know the one girl was a co-writer on the script, and then the other co-writer was the director of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe their sensibility was, well, we're going so over the top with everything else, it's not going to be an issue that we're kind of being humorous about this intense topic. But you always got to remember who's going to be watching it, what have they gone through. You know, you want to have a movie that's, if it's meant to be over the top and wild, it makes sure people know what they're getting into, and make sure that like there's not going to be moments of people saying, I have to leave because I can't handle any of this. Because even early on, like the one girl finds out that her boyfriend's like flirting with all these other girls, and then she gets in the car with the two girls, one of whom has a crush on her, and then he's like standing in front of the car. Like that's the first moment where I'm like, what kind of movie is this? Where like she moves the car a little bit, and then his like just barely taps his leg, and then you'd think he was dying right there. And then his friend comes over, like, which definitely got, there's definitely a homoerotic vibe right there too.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like, God no, why is this happening? Then a little later, like a few days later, he's on crutches. Then parts of it you can see him just carrying the crutches as if there's no problem. And it's like, okay, so he's sort of hurt, but mostly it's BS.
Yeah.
But, and then I also found it amusing that they cast Marshawn Lynch as the teacher. Lucy, who is Marshawn Lynch outside of this movie?
I don't know.
I just had to see if you would recognize it at all. He's actually, I don't know if he still plays, but he was an NFL player. He wants to get into acting, I know, because he was on a Netflix show called Murderville for one episode.
Well, he was really good.
I think he was decent. I mean, I think he can handle comedy, but I think he definitely needs somebody who could use more acting lessons. He needs to like hone his talent more. I think there's something there. I mean, I would never want to write off anybody who once goes from sports or whatever else into acting, because it happens a lot. You know, musicians get into acting. You know, you got The Rock and John Cena and whatnot. I mean, I would certainly hope, you know, if you want to keep going with it, Marshawn Lynch, go ahead. But I do think that you definitely need to learn to hone your craft a little more. You're not bad, just, you know, you've mostly focused on silly comedies, which is nothing wrong with that, but, you know, I guess just bring it into, like, more focus, maybe. Like,
Yeah, because I thought his comedic acting was good.
Yeah, he can, like, I think he can do comedy and he can improvise well, but I think, too, there's an element of just honing a little more. Like, I wouldn't say never do it again, but just want to hone it a little more, I guess, is what I would say.
Sure.
Nothing against Marshawn Lynch. I never watched him in football because I don't really watch sports, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch any stuff he's in, give it a shot.
Yeah.
And then, I guess, Adam, did you have anything else you would want to bring up?
I mean, I would say that when I saw the movie, I felt very represented, because even though it was like a heightened reality, it rang true of my high school experience a little bit, because there's the element of, it was released in 2023, so in 2023, people aren't going to dislike you because you're gay. They're going to like you because you're, like, as they say in the film, ugly and untalented and gay. Because my high school also had, like, the cool gay people, but unfortunately I was the ugly, untalented gay. So I fell kind of into that same place where Josie and PJ were, and just that our football team was also treated like gods. They got, like, all of our school funding. Like, I remember they're, like, cutting, I don't remember what they're cutting. They're cutting some, oh, yeah, they're planning on possibly cutting our musical, like, ensembles, like, possibly choir and orchestra. And meanwhile, the football team gets, like, this huge inflatable helmet that they run out of at football games. They get new helmets, new jerseys, and all this special treatment, the pep rallies, and it's just really, even though it is a heightened reality, to me, there was so much truth to it. And I feel like people my age can probably definitely relate to this movie in a multitude of ways, because it's just so of my generation, and the way that we communicate with each other, and that's really what I really loved about it. And also the guy who played Jeff, the football player, was just so funny.
Yeah, I appreciated the whole like, I'm allergic to pineapple, you fuck water or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like the end, it's, you know, they're gonna douse the football field in pineapple juice.
Mhm.
I also thought that was sort of interesting, like the other team, the whole idea the other team's going to find somebody from, God, what is the town they're in, Huntington or something?
Yeah.
And they're gonna kill them or whatever. It's like, wow, this is like, that's the most intense rivalry of all time, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that happens with all schools though, really, where because the sensibility is sports brings in money because people will come to watch the games.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're generally a losing team, they might not get that much audience, but if they're known for winning, the
Mhm.
audiences will show up and that'll bring in money. Whereas theater and band and whatnot don't really bring in the money. That's kind of like been the same thing too, like even in the sports world where they were saying for a while how, I think it's changed by now somewhat, but like the U.S. women's soccer team did way more winning than the men's team,
Oh.
but they made way less money because people weren't really watching them play as much as the men, and it's unfair, but I think it also turns into the whole thing of like, it's almost the economics of it where if you're not bringing in the viewers, then we aren't going to give you the money. Even if you deserve the money, we're not going to give it to you because
Yeah.
you're not bringing in the viewers. And I also think that's a commentary on those who do regularly watch sports. Believe me, if I watch sports, I try to make a point to watch it all. But I really don't watch sports ever. So I like to look down on those who do. If you don't want to watch the women's stuff, then that's being very sexist. You could say like, oh, it's
Yeah.
not as entertaining, but I mean, I'm sure like, I can't believe the men's stuff is that entertaining either. Especially when some of those teams have lousy records. But that's like even with the Chiefs, like I don't really pay attention to the Chiefs. I'm glad they're doing well, not just because Taylor was dating Travis, but I want to see Patrick Mahomes become the GOAT and down with Tom Brady. But
Yeah.
and I mean, we'll probably cut most of this out because I don't want to take the haters. But no, I mean, I just want to see good players that seem decent and as humans do well versus egomaniacs. And as I say, you know, sports, so much of it is biased, and yeah, even SNL had Caitlin Clark on, and like the one Weekend Update guy was like making a bunch of jokes at her expense, and she's like, "Oh, I've got a few jokes for you."
I
Michael Che."
saw that. I
And it was
love
pretty
that.
funny. I think she even gave him an apron too.
Yeah.
It was pretty entertaining. So, but yeah, like, it just tends to be how sports goes. You can disagree or agree, but it's usually wildly biased and unfair to a lot of people who don't pay attention.
So-
And I know it does tend to turn into like a lot of athletes do eventually want to get into making movies or TV because, you know, once you reach a point where you can't play, then that becomes your new income or whatever. But
Mhm.
so what else were you gonna say?
Oh, just another thing about this movie that I really love is that it did a great job keeping me on my toes and like keeping me guessing what would happen next. And I never would have guessed how it ended, but like I was really pleasantly surprised by just that it wasn't what I just was expecting. Like it wasn't just some comedy. It was like crazy. And like, yeah, there's a fine line. Like there should be some more warnings about what you're getting yourself into. But luckily for me, like I didn't have a negative reaction to it, or I wasn't put back by any of it. I just was like, I enjoyed the surprise that it brought, and I already was like, wow, this movie is like exactly my kind of comedy. But by the end, like I don't even want to spoil it because it's just so out there. But by that point, I was just like, wow, like I haven't been to a movie this good in a while because I was just so baffled and surprised, and I love when a movie can just keep on surprising me like that.
I mean, I agree, like, you couldn't necessarily see exactly where it was going, or you might think like, oh, they're just gonna go with this, and then they find a way to turn left a little bit with it. But, I mean, as I say, like, I didn't hate it, I thought it was a fun movie. It's just that whole, like, being jokey about very intense subject matter, and maybe not having enough warnings about, like, hey, we're gonna have fun with this. And, you know, like, I know there's a show called Opposition. It only aired for one season on Comedy Central. It's Jordan Klepper. I don't know if you're familiar with the name.
Mm-mm.
He's on Daily Show, but he had his own show for a bit, and it's basically like being a goof on conservative
Oh,
mentalities or whatever. And
yeah.
one episode he actually had on this woman who I guess was raped, and then she developed an entire stand-up comedy special based on that, like all
Oh.
rape jokes. And I've never heard the album. I'm very curious to hear what's on it, but I just remember thinking like, that's such an interesting idea, like going through this horrible experience and then twisting it into like, oh well, now I'm gonna make jokes about it. And I think, you know, people who have dealt with horrible experiences like that, it's probably more okay just because you know what the experience is, so it's
Right.
you're in a better position to make jokes about it. But if you've never been in that, then it becomes, who are you to make jokes about it?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, as I say, it's such a awkward thing to talk about in general, because you never know when you're gonna be upsetting people or say something where it's like, who are you to be talking about this kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to know, like, how many people might have thought that, because I did some research on it. I did a review on it a while back for my blog, and I saw mostly good things about it. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely an issue that's worth discussing with bottoms. But I mean, I think that's all I have to say about it. I think luckily I do enjoy that kind of comedy. So I think it's really funny. I thought the acting in it was really good, and I really did enjoy seeing a movie that has a more heightened reality, and that rang so true for me.
As I say, like, I enjoy it. I do truly appreciate those kind of movies. And then, yeah, of course, like, there's really only one element to it that kind of like, okay, this is maybe pushing it too much, but otherwise, yeah, like, I mean, I would compare it to like Airplane and Naked Gun series, Hot Shots, like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, Jerry Abraham, or Jerry Zucker movies. But, yeah, I mean, I would say definitely if you appreciate heightened reality, but just remember it's gonna have moments that might make you a little uncomfortable, so
Mm-hmm.
you can always turn it off if you feel like, okay, it's too much for me, but
Yeah.
it's definitely worth checking out for like the silliness of it. And I'll point out too, you know, Ayo Edebiri, who's one of the main people in it, she's on The Bear now, and
Mm-hmm.
I think she's been nominated for some awards for that.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe won even one, but I can't remember for sure. But
Oh, I remember she won something.
I might have been Emmys or Golden Globe, but
Yeah.
I know I've the one year won like a bunch of stuff at multiple award shows, and I have not watched any of it yet. I do want to check it out because it sounds like it's quite good. But
Yeah.
so clearly, like, you know, they have one person in that movie that's got a huge career going ahead of her, and Punky Johnson too. She was on SNL, and I think she's not returning for this new season, but
Mm.
she's quite good. And
Yeah.
the other ones seem like they got talent, so hopefully they'll find other projects to work on.
For sure.
I guess unless there's something else you want to add.
No, I think that's it for me.
Well, thanks for watching. I guess this will be the last video for a little while, maybe till December. Maybe we'll hopefully discuss a couple Christmas movies.
Yeah.
But she's got school to deal with now, so, and we also have to get a lot of the other videos edited.
For sure.
So thanks for watching again, and see you hopefully sometime in December.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I've been Jay.
Lucy.
Thanks for watching.